A federal judge in Texas has placed a temporary ban on a 100-day freeze on deportations that President Biden signed in his first day in office. Biden has suffered a major blow to his administration's efforts to roll back former President Trump's immigration policies after District Judge Drew Tipton issued the restraining order, forcing the Department of Homeland Security to hold off on the plan. The judge's decision came after Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton sued the Biden administration on Tuesday, stating Biden had violated an agreement between Texas and the Trump administration earlier this month. "I told at DHS.gov and at Joe Biden last night to rescind its deportation freeze, which is unconstitutional, illegal and bad for Texas and the nation," Paxton said in a tweet Friday. "They don't budge, so #Texas is bringing them to court." After Biden's inauguration, the Department of Homeland Security ordered a halt of nearly all deportations of illegal aliens, including those whose removal was ordered following a full and fair hearing, and those who are not entitled and do not claim to be entitled to further immigration benefits, the Texas federal suit alleges. In one of its first of dozens of steps that harm Texas and the nation as a whole, the Biden administration directed DHS to violate federal immigration law and breach an agreement to consult and cooperate with Texas on that law, Paxton said in a prepared statement. "Our state defends the largest section of the southern border in the nation. Failure to properly enforce the law will directly and immediately endanger our citizens and law enforcement personnel," Paxton continued. A White House spokesperson told Forbes, "We're confident that as the case proceeds, it will be clear that this measure was wholly appropriate in ordering a temporary pause to allow the agency to carefully review its policies, procedures and enforcement priorities." Judge Tipton, a Trump appointee, ruled against the Homeland Security memo directing the halt in deportations because it had failed to provide any concrete, reasonable justification for the 100-day pause. The ruling will be in place for at least 14 days. Biden's plan proposed far-reaching changes sought by immigration advocates, including a plan to legalise an estimated 11 million immigrants living in the US illegally. Biden promised voters during his campaign he would issue the moratorium. Since his inauguration on January 20, Biden has signed a record number of executive orders, including a halt on border wall construction and rescinding the ban on travel from many Muslim nations. Senator Rand Paul, representative of Kentucky, raised a point of order on Tuesday that the impeachment of private citizen Donald Trump is unconstitutional. This is the second time Democrats have pushed for impeachment of President Trump, and shortly after, senators were sworn in as jurors for the trial. Senator Rand Paul called for a vote on whether the impeachment is constitutional, as Mr. Trump has already vacated the presidency. "If we're about to try to impeach a president, where is the Chief Justice? If the accused is no longer president, where is the constitutional power for impeachment?" said Paul. "Private citizens don't get impeached," said Rand. "Impeachment is for removal from office." He added, "And the accused here has already left office. Democrats have insisted that their efforts to impeach Mr. Trump is both legal and justified. Democrats are wasting the nation's time on a partisan vendetta. Hyperpartisans are about to drag our great country down into the gutter of rancor and vitriol, the likes of which have never been seen in our nation's history," he said. Democrats should instead be focusing on doing the nation's work with their new majorities in the House. Senate and executive branch, Democrats are wasting the nation's time on a partisan vendetta against a man no longer in office. The Senate voted to set aside Paul's point of order that the Trump impeachment trial is unconstitutional. The vote was 55 to 45. 5 GOP senators vote with Democrats, rejecting Senator Paul's argument that an impeachment trial is unconstitutional. That are Collins, McCoskey, Romney, Sass and Toomey. Paul had said prior to the vote he was hopeful for support from at least 40 Republicans, proving the whole thing's dead on arrival. "It's almost as if they have no ability to exist except in opposition to Donald Trump," Paul said. "The history and precedent is clear. The Senate has the power to try former officials, said Majority Leader Charles E. Schumer, New York Democrat. He called Mr. Trump's actions the gravest offence ever committed by a President of the United States. A successful impeachment against the former president would ban him from any future presidency and removal from office. Federal prosecutors have laid charges against at least 150 people over acts related to the insurrection at Capitol Hill on January 6, according to a CNN review of court records and announcements by the Justice Department. One prosecutor has stated that the charges of sedition may also be considered. Michael Sherwin, the top US prosecutor in Washington, said in a news conference Tuesday that investigators have used 500 grand jury subpoenas and search warrants to gather information in the sweeping, unparalleled investigation. Sedition, among other charges, is what we're trying to build toward, Sherwin said. He added the Justice Department now has over 400 persons of interest in its investigation. Dion Tuno, the FBI Assistant Director in Washington, D.C., told reporters Tuesday that investigators are still searching for rioters who assaulted law enforcement officers and the person or people responsible for placing pipe bombs outside of Republican and Democratic Party headquarters buildings. Thank you for watching. Please click like and share, and we welcome your comments.